Chapter 102. So, in my opinion, allying ourselves with Zeglis Hatton and establishing a link in the East could turn out to be a beneficial choice in the long term. That sounds sensible. My older brother will approve. Kishir, who had chimed in with the other's words, scrutinized the purple speckles that had trickled down to his elbow before he lifted his eyes. Hidden beneath his long eyelashes, his crimson irises clearly locked onto either's face. But what about this man named Nahan? What did he look like? The report only managed to mention a large scar on his left face. Either slightly furrowed his brows, unable to grasp Kishir's intention for such a sudden question. Kishir subtly gestured towards Nathan Zuckerman, who was behind him. Did he appear to be a southern origin like Nathan? Either's gaze turned towards Nathan Zuckerman, who was sitting expressionlessly. His skin hue was unique, casting a distant red shade, and the brilliant blue eyes under his ashy hair contrasted with his complexion, creating a striking impression. The red skin tone he possessed was one of the most commonly thought features of the Southerners, but in neither's memory, Nathan had an ordinary skin color except for his scar. His eye color was somewhat similar to Nathan Zuckerman's eyes. Either recalled Nathan's hair dark enough to appear almost black, contrasted with his cold grey eyes. However, there were countless people with deep blue hair and grey eyes. They did not have features as immediately noticeable as those of the Southerners. He had not dismissed the possibility that even that appearance could have been conjured by illusion, but either sensitive enough to sense the faintest energy released during power usage doubted it. I am not sure. Do you know that Nahan means revenge in the southern language? Pardon? That was news to him. Despite his rebirth, caught off guard, Yide blurted out a question, and Nathan, who had been standing behind Kishir, slowly opened his mouth as if he had been waiting. Sananre Uzan, Nathan Rigamu, Ruhanre Nahan, Moda Suryan, Anzan Nyum Re'ur. It was a language with a unique accent. Yide recognized that Nathan spoke in the southern language, but he didn't comprehend its meaning. He only registered the words Nathan and Nahan tucked in the middle. What did you just say? Birth and death, blessing and curse, mercy and revenge. Everything is as the day and night of the desert. I recited an old southern adage. With that, Nathan added another sentence. It's one of the most famous proverbs where the word revenge is used. Indeed, isolated from the rest of the continent by a vast desert, the area had unique proverbs. What does it mean? At either's question, Nathan opened his mouth as if he had been waiting. The desert's days is parched and scorching, devoid of a drop of water. However, the night is so cold that everything you have freezes. Since even the day and night bound in the same day are so, it's natural that everything else to be contradictory. It means strive for what you want either way. Before either could fully contemplate the meaning of those words, another wave of agony surged along his arm and he gritted his teeth, bracing against the pain. Then, may I ask, what does the word Nathan within you signify? Blessing. It's a name I bestowed. The answer unexpectedly came for Kishir, as he set down the purification stones, now devoid of light, having used all its purifying power. His expression remained stoically calm. However, Yidr was greatly surprised by his words. "Are you saying this, Commander? It's a name bestowed upon me when I was freed from slavery in my youth and brought into the palace." His Highness chose that word after hearing a certain maxim. Yidr had never heard this from them in his previous life. He knew that Nathan Zuckerman, the adjutant who had long served Kashir and hailed from the southern country, but he was shocked to learn that it all started from his time as a slave during his youth. It wasn't just about emancipation. Yidin bestowed a knight's title upon him, made him an adjutant, and kept him by his side until he became a sword master. This is no ordinary bond. And the fact that such information was hidden from the public suggested that Kashir highly valued his adjutant and greatly appreciated his abilities. Even though Kashir, his lord, who had given such great favor to him, could not have been ignorant of who had killed him. Yidr wondered why Nathan Sakraman in his past life did not seek revenge against him, but quietly disappeared from the Paleta territory. The question he had deliberately avoided pondering in his previous life suddenly resurfaced. Regardless of Yidr's thoughts, Nathan continued speaking. "That's why I think his name is probably not his real one." "That makes sense. Actually, after receiving the report first, when you wrote his name, I initiated an investigation under His Highness's order. There seemed to be an individual assumed to be the same person as Nahan, who had been gathering awakeners in a similar manner throughout the empire since a year ago." Upon hearing the unexpected news, Yidr even forgot his pain and lifted his head. Nathan, as if understanding Yidr's surprise, slightly nodded. "We had a fairly easy time finding him thanks to a considerable amount of records left by those who found him suspicious and reported him. Whenever a certain number of people gathered, he would lead them abroad and then return alone to repeat the same thing in another area. As you surmised, there's a high chance he belongs to a certain group. So he might return to the Empire again." "Most likely, yes." When Nathan agreed with Yidr's words, Kashir immediately followed up. "We will have to report him to His Majesty as someone to watch out for. We will need to send a missive to the administration in each region. Further investigation will also be necessary." While it was still unclear what the future held, if they continued tracking Nahan's information, there was a high likelihood they would see him again. Yidr decided that if he met Nahan again, he would definitely capture him alive and bring him here. "But Yidr?" Kashir called Yidr as he bought a new purification stone. "Yes?" "I heard that you injured your own arm to break free because of Nahan's powerful illusion ability. But the report did not mention what kind of illusion power you experienced exactly." As soon as he finished speaking, a sharp pain, as if stabbed by a knife, surged up. Seeing Yidr's finger twitch, Kishir spoke softly. "What kind of power was it? What have you seen that you'd felt compelled to injure yourself?" Yidr looked at his arm, trembling with pain independent of his will, with a gaze soaked in consternation. What kind of illusion had he seen? As if he could ever tell. Perhaps it would have been better for him to leave and reveal the violet specks on his arm in front of everyone. After all, the thing Yidr truly wanted to hide wasn't the spots, but cashier that he had seen in the illusion. What face would the man before him make if he confessed that he had seen him? Regardless of how he would interpret it, the atmosphere would definitely become awkward. And on top of that, the cashier in the illusion was not the cashier of the present, but the cashier he had killed in the past life. This was the real issue. He could never tell. Bearing the pain radiating from his aching arm, Yudir opened his mouth. Must I really tell you? Kishir, who had slightly widened his eyes at his question, offered a subtle smile, apparently pondering over something. Oh, perhaps you have seen something embarrassing. Someone naked, perhaps? What are you thinking? No, that's not it. His resolute response was naturally met with a chuckle. Truthfully, you don't need to explain in detail. As long as we know the type, we can find a way to handle it the next time we encounter it and inform the entire cavalry. That's all. While he had no intention of revealing what he had seen, keeping it a complete secret was proving difficult. After a moment's thought, Yudhir decided to provide a simplified version of the information. It seems to show the target an illusion that triggers their fear. Fear? How does it know what they are afraid of? I suspect it pulls from the target's memories and constructs the illusion. Considering those who have succumbed to insanity from the illusions, I thought it was better to get out of it early, even if it meant hurting myself. At Yudhir's calm explanation, Kishore slightly tilted his head. I'm glad it worked out, but I would prefer if you don't resort to such methods next time you two meet. If they were to face a similar situation again, Yudhir wouldn't hesitate to harm his one arm once more. However, he chose to remain silent in front of Kishore for now. Meanwhile, Kishore had already consumed more than half of the purification stones, piling them on one side of the table. Considering the purification stones had lost their power and became useless, it was as if a large sum of money had been spent in a very short time. But Kishore showed no sign of regret. Now, finally, it reached inside the willow. Kishore gazed satisfactorily at the progress he had made. The spot had been reduced to half its size due to his generous use of the purification stones, so his sense of accomplishment was justified. Take a break and wipe off your sweat. At Kishore's light gesture, Nathan Zuckerman immediately approached the table and handed him a handkerchief he'd pulled out. After watching Kishore wipe the sweat from his forehead and neck, Nathan also offered a handkerchief to Yudhir, who was gazing blankly. I'm fine, actually. Wipe yourself off. You're soaked far more than me.